Imagine being 20, planning your dream wedding, surrounded by the people you trust the most. Then, one bridesmaid not only bails at the last minute, but sends a letter calling you a failure and demanding you pay for her mistakes. Now, picture running into her 24 years later, after life has proven her completely wrong. This is my story. If you ever wonder what true poetic justice looks like, smash that like button, subscribe, and get ready for a wedding revenge story 24 years in the making. In Havenbrook, Pennsylvania, the late 1990s were an era of big, slightly naive dreams. I was Emily Carter, a 20-year-old swept up in the whirlwind of planning my future. I had just gotten engaged to my college sweetheart, Michael Jameson. We were young, yes, but we were steady. We worked part-time jobs at the local diner and the campus bookstore, saving every dime, believing implicitly that hard work and love were enough to build a solid life. We weren't wealthy, but we were rich in shared ambition. Our wedding was set for October 31st, a whimsical choice that everyone found charming, exactly 1 year from the day Michael proposed. We set the date a year in advance to give us ample time to save. The theme was autumnal elegance, not costumes and ghosts, but the date itself was fixed, known, and loved. I asked 5 women to stand beside me, my older sister, Claire, my cousin Lena, and 3 close friends. Among those friends was Rachel. Rachel and I had been inseparable since elementary school. She was loud, vibrant, and always slightly chaotic, the kind of friend who demanded attention, but I always excused it as passion. Our history ran too deep to question her loyalty. The dresses were custom-made, a deep, rich emerald green velvet that perfectly captured the October light. Deposits were paid to the caterer, the DJ, and the venue. Everything was perfect, the kind of perfect only a young, deeply in-love couple can manufacture. The friction started subtly, not with a wedding, but with Rachel's new obsession, her jet ski. 3 months before the wedding, Rachel and her husband Mark invited Michael and me out on their boat at Crystal Lake, a massive man-made reservoir that was the center of summer activity. It was a beautiful, cloudless day. We packed elaborate picnics, enjoyed the intense sunshine, and watched Rachel show off, zipping around on her brand-new jet ski, the engine whine echoing across the water. While we were anchored for lunch, Mark, ever meticulous one, called out to Rachel, who was securing the jet ski alongside their pontoon boat. "Did you put the bumper between the jet ski and the boat, Rake?" She was already applying sunscreen to her shoulders, totally dismissive. "It's fine, Mark. It's calm water. Relax." She waved him off with a gesture that said her pleasure was far more important than its preventative maintenance. Later, we were all swimming near the boat, enjoying the cool relief of the water. I noticed something was wrong immediately. The pontoon seemed to be sitting unnaturally low in the water. I swam closer and saw the problem. Without the bumper, the fiberglass hull of the jet ski had been steadily bumping against the side of the pontoon boat, creating a small, insidious crack just above the waterline. Panic set in. By the time we scrambled back aboard, the boat was taking on water faster than we could scoop it out with an empty jug. It wasn't a dramatic sinking, but a slow, inevitable surrender. Mark was frantic. We called the Rangers, who told us the wait would be an hour. Mark ran to fetch the trailer from the dockyard a mile away. Emily and Rachel, who had the car keys, left to fetch their separate vehicle, leaving Michael, who, significantly, couldn't swim, alone on the sinking boat with a 1-gallon bucket to bail out water under the blazing sun. He was terrified, sweating, and laboring for an entire hour to keep the boat from submerging entirely. When the ordeal was finally over, and the damaged boat was on the trailer, Michael was shaking. Yet, in a testament to the generosity and naivety of our youth, Emily and Michael treated Rachel and Mark to dinner, feeling bad that their outing had resulted in damage to Rachel's boat. We never once mentioned the bumper, except in the event as an unfortunate accident. We should have seen the selfishness then. We didn't. The wedding date crept closer. The final fittings were done. The excitement was peaking. A week before the wedding, Rachel called. I assumed it was to finalize seating charts or confirm her arrival time for the rehearsal dinner. Her reason? "You picked Halloween, Emily. The biggest party night of the year." I spent $300 on costumes already, and I can't miss the huge party at the lodge. The dress is beautiful, but I just can't. I was stunned into silence. She had known the date for a year. The dress was custom-made and paid for. This wasn't scheduling conflict. This was a complete, callous disregard for my feelings, my plans, and my financial investment. I tried to argue, pleading with her, reminding her the dress cost and the emotional void she would leave. She simply repeated, flatly, that Halloween was too important to miss. I hung up feeling sick. It was a brutal punch. But the real knife twist came the next day. It was the Friday before the wedding. I was at the church for the rehearsal, running through the choreography with the remaining 4 bridesmaids and my anxious fiancé. My mother, Sarah, usually a pillar of quiet strength, pulled me aside in the empty sanctuary. She was pale, clutching a piece of paper. "Emily," she whispered, her voice trembling, "I got this in the mail. And I think you got one too." The letters were postmarked from a town across the state. Rachel clearly trying to disguise her handiwork. My hand shook as I unfolded the crisp, expensive stationery. It wasn't a note of regret or apology. It was a toxic, poison manifesto. "I can't stand up there and watch you make this mistake. You and Michael are fools. You'll never own a house. You don't have the drive. You'll never have meaningful careers. You're too easily distracted. You'll be horrible parents. You're still children yourselves. Your marriage will never last. You're too fragile." My head swam. This wasn't just abandoning a friendship. This was a vicious attempt to dismantle my hope. It was character assassination aimed at a fragile, stressed bride. But the final, staggering piece of cruelty was at the bottom. Attached was a detailed bill for the damage to her boat, blaming Michael for not bailing fast enough, claiming his ineptitude had caused him financial ruin. She demanded we pay for the entire repair bill. I remember standing in the cool, echoing silence of the church, the beautiful altar decorations blurry through my tears. My heart pounded against my ribs. It was like being stabbed by someone I thought was family, and then being handed the bill for the cleanup. My mother hugged me tight, weeping silently into my shoulder. "We won't answer her, honey, not a word." And that was my choice. I decided not to fight. I refused to let her win the last word. I took a deep breath, wiped my tears, squared my shoulders, and vowed that day to build a life so undeniably good that would serve as the ultimate silent rebuttal. I walked down that aisle the next day, not just marrying Michael, but silently marrying myself to the promise of proving Rachel wrong. The wedding was beautiful despite Rachel's absence. My sister, Claire, stepped up and we moved on, but the poison of that letter lingered, a scar that subtly guided my decisions. Every time I hit a roadblock, a college tuition bill, a difficult job interview, a financial setback, Rachel's cruel words echoed. "You'll never own a house. You'll never have meaningful careers." Michael and I worked tirelessly. We finished our degrees, often taking night classes. We scraped together the money for a down payment on a tiny, dilapidated starter home 4 years into our marriage. Every coat of paint we applied, every leaky faucet we fixed, was a small, silent act of defiance against Rachel's prediction. Our careers weren't instantaneous masterpieces. I spent years in administrative roles, slowly chipping away at a master's degree in business management online. Michael eventually found his footing in logistics. They were meaningful, necessary careers built on stability and dedication, not flash. Then came the children. We had 3 wonderful kids, responsible, kind, and brilliant. We threw ourselves into active, engaged parenting. The joy they brought wasn't the fragile, temporary happiness Rachel had predicted, but a deep, foundational certainty. The years blurred. There were ups and downs, as in any marriage. After 18 fulfilling years and 3 children raised, Michael and I realized we were better suited as partners and co-parents than as spouses. We divorced amicably, maintaining a deep respect and a shared commitment to our family. Rachel had predicted the marriage wouldn't last. And technically she was right, but she had predicted a bitter failure, and what we had was a respectful evolution. Even in our separation, we achieved maturity Rachel couldn't comprehend. By the time I hit my mid-40s, I had reached a plateau of quiet success. I owned my home outright. I held a master's degree and led a thriving department at a tech firm. My eldest graduated college 2 years early and was already teaching high school, a true testament to the stability Michael and I had created. I had forgotten Rachel, burying the memory under 2 decades of hard-won life. I had already won the war, without realizing the final battle was yet to come. It was December. The first significant snow of the season had fallen on Havenbrook. I was in my 40s now, decorating my cozy, mortgage-free house for the holidays, the scent of pine and cinnamon filling the air. My 2 youngest children, home from college and high school respectively, burst through the kitchen door, shaking snow off their coats. Someone's outside asking for you," my middle son, Ben, announced. I stepped on the porch, pulling my warm cardigan tighter. And there she stood, Rachel, 24 years older. It wasn't the passage of time that changed her. It was a cumulative cruelty of a life lived carelessly. She was painfully thin, dressed in ill-fitting, tired clothing. Her teeth looked damaged, stained. Her eyes darted nervously, unable to meet mine for long. The glamorous, demanding persona of the past had been completely eroded by hard living. We exchanged the obligatory, polite small talk, the meaningless surface-level chatter that covers up decades of history. I asked how she was. She mumbled about being between things. She claimed she was just passing through Havenbrook and wanted to say hello. I listened, my expression calm, my heart pounding a steady rhythm of certainty. She asked about my house. I confirmed I owned it. She asked about my work. I mentioned my master's degree and my thriving career. She asked about the kids. I told her the eldest was a teacher. The middle was doing great in pre-med. She asked about Michael. I told her we were divorced but had co-parented successfully, and we had just had lunch together last week. She just kept blinking, absorbing the facts of my life. I didn't gloat. I didn't mention the boat, the costume, or the church. I never once mentioned the letter. I simply smiled. I smiled because the truth was now written all over both our lives, visible to anyone on that snowy porch. Rachel's cruel predictions have been utterly, resoundingly negated by my simple, unwavering life. Her malice had been used as the fuel for my perseverance. The greatest satisfaction wasn't her looking beaten. It was in the realization that I hadn't needed to lift a finger. Time, patience, and good choices had done the work for me. Sometimes revenge isn't loud or planned. Sometimes it's simply living well, growing stronger, and letting time reveal the truth. It took 24 years, but patience really does pay off. The silence of my successful, messy, imperfect, and beautiful life was the loudest comeback Rachel would ever hear. If this story gave you chills, hit like, drop a comment about the sweetest real-life revenge you've seen, and don't forget to subscribe for more incredible true stories of poetic justice like this one.